So what does a new update mean? Exactly! There are new tanks for the Supertesters, and in today's video I'll introduce you to the 3 tested tanks that you and I have had in my games so far. But before we start, a disclaimer about the values. These are Supertest tanks. Test, it's in the name, means they can definitely change over the next months. Nevertheless, I think it's worth to present them to you now so you won't be surprised about the features of these machines when you fight against them. And let's start with the tier 10 tank, the MBT-B, which is going to be your latest and greatest American heavy tank. Currently it is being sold or said to be a reward vehicle, but this is only something which you can look for yourself on tanks.gg, because yeah, there you can see it's called a tier 10 reward vehicle. The MBT-B is a rather interesting thing because on first glance it kind of looks like an American chieftain. Yes, it has worse DPM, it has worse damage, it has better penetration because it also has heat, it has worse mobility and comparable armor and comparable gun handling. However, that is just the first glance if you don't really compare them together. The main issue is this tank has on one hand really good armor. You can see 145 to 200 and you can see it's insane if you go in live model view. That one. This one is the issue for you guys. Well, for the Supertesters playing the MBT-B at the moment. Which is great for us because it actually is a gameplay counter. It has an actual weak spot, and rather than having a weak spot on the roof or a non-existing weak spot which is almost invisible like the chieftain on the roof, it has one to the side of his turret. It is actually a fairly interesting concept of a weak spot placement because again it is basically on the level of the gun, which also means that if we go fully hull down, you still have quite a lot to see of this weak spot, and you can see it is 240mm flat. This means that not only tier 9 and tier 10 tanks can penetrate with base ammunition, tier 8s with premium rounds shouldn't have issues either. And again, if you load heat rounds, you can see it doesn't really change much. It's still the weak spot here, but you can also try to hit and penetrate these right there. And obviously you never see the tank like this, so you know where to pen it. You basically always have to just shoot at this 30mm gun. If you hit this gun, you're going to penetrate through. It doesn't have any damage model or any spaced armor model. Just going to hit this and then go through. And again, it's always at the same spot. It doesn't even move, which is perfect for you guys. So if you now compare this tank to the chieftain, yes, the chieftain has better DPM. It has better aim time, it has a slightly worse accuracy base and on the move. Chieftain at least. The damage model, damage against model is the same, the chieftain is faster, although the traverse speed at least is better on the MBT-B, and the view range is better on the MBT-B. But both have 10 degrees of gun depression. So the fact that this tank has already slightly, like for competitive especially, it is not going to be a good tank because A, the weak spot is too big, and B, it's not fast enough like the chieftain. That's just how it is. But I believe that for pub games or for random games, this tank is more than enough a decent tank. It feels balanced from just the stats we are having right here. And you can see if a chieftain loads APCR, can even penetrate those in a full hull down, which is kind of insane. Also, another funny thing is when we now go over to the E5, which is another comparison for this one, you can see the E5 is slower, but the MBT and has better DPM, but MBT-B has not really better gun handling, you know, because this one right here is obviously in favor of the E5, but the dispersion is in the favor of the MBT-B. And we're most likely going to play fairly similar, but the MBT-B has the helpful addition of having 10 degrees of gun depression, not 8. However, there is one big issue with the MBT-B, and that is that it can't side scrape. Not only is this flat spot right here massive, and again with heat you can see the turret cheeks are actually very thick, 350. The problem is it has 40 millimeters of side armor. That means that basically every or almost every tier 10 heavy tank can overmatch this with standard rounds. Almost every. Except for the E5, except for the Chieftain, except for the Super Conqueror, which are the ones which come to my mind just now. Most others should have... Oh yeah, 50B can't, and T57 can't overmatch it as well. But other than that, basically every single other tier 10 heavy tank can penetrate with one of their gun options, or both gun options, or all guns. That is oof. And you can see even with heat rounds, because of their additional angle, they can penetrate in ludicrous angles. So yeah, that is the MBT-B. Let's move over to the next vehicle you can see now in the background. Being a tank which has been in the game for quite some time now, and it's the Udes 03 Alt 3, a tier 9 Swedish medium tank, and it is basically very much in line to what we have with the normal Udes 16. However, it has one thing which could probably trip you up if you don't pay attention, and that is it has an autoloader. It's a 3-shot autoloader with 3 rounds doing 360 damage each, and a 6-second clip time and 3 seconds interclip. That is pretty darn good. Like, that's generally a good value, and that feels like a really good tank in my opinion. Now, armor wise, it has nothing. 50 millimeters, then we have the autobounce on the hull, which is not autobounce against anything which isn't 105 millimeter. Like, everything above 105 will autopen, and you can see it's just paper. You don't have any armor with this tank. The interesting thing is, if you now compare it to the Udes 16, the DPM is almost identical, but the 03, the 3 Alt 3 has an autoloader. You know, that is pretty stout in my opinion. You can work with that. It has better aim time, it has better dispersion, it has worse accuracy on the move, but better accuracy during turn traverse compared to the 16. It is also a lot quicker, and it has similar HP per ton ratio. But with the better top speed, it's just so much more convenient. It also has better gun depression base, and it even has slightly higher gun depression with the additional speedy mode, or well, the mode of going into siege mode. I actually don't know what speed it is at which... Oh, here it is. It enables at 10 kph and it disables at 19 kph, which is 1 kph below your reverse speed. By the way, I really want to point out that this is actually very annoying. I've pre-marked and played the Udes 15-16, and the fact that if you drive full speed in reverse, you're disabling your siege mode is incredibly annoying and makes the tank very unintuitive to play. However, I have to say, currently, just from the stats we have right here, the Udes 03 Alt 3 looks really interesting, because that autoloader is very unique for a medium tank in my opinion. So yeah, obviously we have the Skoda T50, but this one just feels more unique. And again, you can basically hit it wherever you want, except for the upper plate, and you will be panning instantly. Again, there is... it's green, and even with HE, there are green spots you can penetrate. It is very unarmored. But again, that's what it is. Lastly, we have a very unique take on another Swedish vehicle. It is the Latta Stridsfordon. I do hope I pronounced it properly. I guess Edwin or Switch need to correct me if I said it wrong. However, the Stridsfordon is another tier 9 Swedish tank destroyer. And this one, as you can see, is the abomination. Not really the abomination, it's basically the motto of IKEA. Square and practical, because it's just a box from above. It's like, what the hell is going on? This tank is very unique what it currently can do. The Latta Stridsfordon doesn't really have interesting DPM. It's actually fairly bad. It has pretty decent top speed, and the armor is also fairly interesting, because this is the armor against your own round, which is a 120mm gun. It has 40mm armor on the top. It has a massive lower plate, which isn't angled as you can see, which is 40 and 20mm thick. The gun mantlet is very weak with 20mm. And if you load heat rounds, you can see, oh whoops, it's all green, you know. And this is the same which will happen if you have a 122mm gun. Let's now compare it to its brother from another mother, the Stridsfordon 103. And the first thing you can see, if both tanks are in mobility mode, the Latta is not good. What is this DPM? It's non-existent, it doesn't have DPM. It has higher alpha, 420 to 390, but the accuracies are similar, on the move are similar. Obviously the module damage will be higher. It has better top speed, 60 versus 50, and worse reverse speed and comparable power to weight ratio. Actually has better camouflage. Understandable, it's even flatter for some reason. It also has already 10 degrees of gun depression, because if you go again in the model, you can see that the gun is already hinged, so it can move around a little bit. It's not supposed to go left and right, this is just from the model itself, which makes it easier for wargaming to model the whole aiming. But yeah, it can shoot in this travel mode, which the Stridsfordon 103 can't. What will be interesting though is if the Latta Stridsfordon is going in the sniper mode as well. And that is what happens here. The DPM goes up to almost 3k, which is better than what the normal Stridsfordon has. Yes, it has worse aim time, yes it has worse accuracy, it has better accuracy on the move, which is nice, I would say. But this also comes in hand because you have 10 kph better top speed in both modes. Like, that is nuts, that is really, really, really good. That is a quick tank in this mode, and again, if you want to use a turbo, you can use it and you will be even faster, like 24 and 22, which is really, really quickly. Because I know a lot of people which are a little bit not happy with the mode being so slow when you're playing in the Stridsfordon. You also have 10 degrees plus an additional 5 degrees gun depression, which is 15 degrees compared to just 13 the normal Stridsfordon has. And gun elevation is also better, 15 degrees versus 7 degrees. But again, nobody really cares about gun depression, gun elevation, usually, except if you're a Manticore. Then, yeah, it counts, because the Manticore has really, really bad gun elevation angles. In general, though, the Latta Stridsfordon really, really, really feels interesting. Again, it is more inaccurate, but it has much better DPM. It has 420 alpha. It has better camo as well. And it's faster, quite a bit faster, especially in the non-speed mode. And again, this DPM, we can compare it right here. You can see that, okay, the Conway might be a little bit of a bad example because it is using the thick gun, but the DPM is comparable to something like the Jack Tiger or the Waffenträger of Panzer IV, not even. No, it is comparable to the Jack Tiger and the Kampfpanzer III Project 07HK. However, the 07HK loses accuracy in set mode. If you just go down here, you can see that this version is 0.35, which is actually similar to what we have, but the accuracy, the aim time is worse, and you are losing the gun depression, if I am not mistaken, for this tank. It should be here. Oh no, you have 12 degrees. I guess I was wrong then. In any case, what I want to say is that the Latta Stridsfordon STRF really has really a unique DPM, and I believe it will be a very, very cool tank to play and see what it can do. I really do look forward to this tank and hope it won't be changed too much. In any case, that is it for what I'm having for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, so let me know in the comment section below if you think this was helpful, and now you know what the strengths and weaknesses of these tanks are. On a final note, I want to point out, guys, do not go after Supertesters, because in the end, if the Supertesters say a tank is bad for the game and Wargaming simply ignores it, it's not the Supertester's fault. I saw several times already people actively witch hunting almost. Supertesters saying, yes, you are the mistake, you are the reason why we have the BZ176. Obviously I know some Supertesters myself, and all of them said that in the end, if Wargaming doesn't take our feedback, then it's not our mistake. Because that is what basically happened with the BZ, where they said, hey, yo, not bueno, not good, it's too strong, and Wargaming just doubled down, at least in their eyes. So again, in the end, Wargaming does the balancing, not the Supertesters. Keep that in mind if you on another time see a Supertester with maybe a too strong vehicle, or maybe if another new very strong premium tank is coming out. My name is RagingRaptor, thank you so much for watching and good luck on the battlefield.